So I used to work at Best Buy. I've worked retail. I have a lot of compassion for those of you guys that are still working in retail. I think it's important that everybody does at some point in their life, because it makes you really, really appreciate, you know, the people that still do work there and the crap they have to go through. And this guy, Les Dip, is going to explain in a second why he's leaving GameStop. And it's just about exactly what you would expect. You know, we meme on GameStop because it's like a meme stock at this point, but GameStop is a very poorly run company, and they have been for a long time. But what's crazy is, like, I remember growing up thinking working at like a Best Buy or a GameStop would be super, super cool, right? Because you get the tech, you get probably like discounts on games, you get discounts on consoles, all of that. But what's really like gross is that these executives know that. They know that there's a lot of kids that want to work here because they think it'll be really cool. And so they pay really poorly, terrible benefits. They treat you poorly because they know if you leave and you get fed up, they can just hire another high schooler who doesn't know any better. That's what it was at Best Buy. I worked there, and after like a year or something, they did their review or something, and they offered like a 12-cent raise or something. I don't even remember what it was. It was laughable. It was hilariously low. And I think at the time I was working for like $10.25 an hour or $10.50 an hour or something like that. It was ridiculous. It was like, are you kidding me? Eventually I got promoted to like VPL, which is vendor paid labor. So I sold Sony TVs, and technically Sony paid my salary to sell their TVs, but I was still employed by Best Buy, but Sony paid for it. So it's like a blur. Like, I trained with a guy from Sony. He would bring in like their latest tech, and we would do training specifically with the Sony employee. So we were like Sony employees, but also not. It was weird. If we have anybody that works at like Best Buy, tell me if they still do VPL stuff, because maybe they don't. It's been like 5-6 years since I worked there. But anyway, I did that. Then I moved to Magnolia Home Theater, where we sold like luxury home theater setups. Like, we sold you know, the crazy projector systems, the Bowers and Wilkins speakers, you know, all of those amazing things. It's kind of what made me appreciate really high quality audio equipment. Because of all of that, I eat it up. But at least those other areas, they could treat you better because they couldn't replace you easily. Like, once you're trained in Magnolia, that's like a multi-month process to like do trainings and certifications before you're allowed to even wear the black shirt. But at places like the regular Best Buy location, and then at GameStop and all these places, they know that if you leave, they can just get another high schooler, throw them in there, and they won't know any better. And so they like actively do not care about expertise or knowledge, because they don't care. You're just filling a space, and it's really, really toxic. And hearing this guy describe all of this stuff that he's about to go through really makes me go like, okay, yeah, I really don't want to go to GameStop ever again. What do they earn at GameStop? He'll tell you.
GameStop's closing. I imagine a lot of people are wondering why the company itself isn't under yet. Me too. But the issue that I have today is that I came into a note saying we were closing due to staffing issues. And that kind of puts the blame on the employees and not on management. And I don't even mean like local management. I mean district and above. Anyone who's worked in retail or fast food knows staffing issues aren't really the issue of the employees not wanting to come in, like a lot of people believe Gen Z are. It's issues with pay. I want you to imagine how much an average retail worker or a key holder would get for like an hourly rate.
Everyone in chat right now, what do you think a key holder would be paid within a GameStop location? I don't know where exactly this store is located, but like your standard place, what do you think a key holder would get? Somebody with responsibility, somebody who is opening the store and closing it. What would they be getting per hour? What do you think? I see some 10s, I see $12.50, I see 15, I see some 20, 25. In Colorado, most retail that's not part of a big corporate chain, you'd probably be getting between 18 and 20. Probably. There's other places, like if you work at a Buc-ee's or something, they pay really well. Starbucks pays pretty well. So Starbucks, you're probably more like, I would imagine 20 to 25, maybe approaching 30. But I think for standard retail in Colorado, you might start to climb a little bit higher. Okay. It's very relative to location. Absolutely. But in Colorado, at least, it's higher. I think our minimum wage has actually just gone up. It goes up in January again. Oh yeah. Yeah. Colorado minimum wage is $14.42. Okay. That's $11.40 with a $3.02 tip credit, according to the Division of Labor. So in Colorado, the minimum wage is at like $14.42. Okay. Let's hear what he says his is at.
Think of it. GameStop in my area averages anywhere from $8 to $11 an hour at the maximum for a key holder position, and only higher for assistant and regional, or not regional, but like regular management. I got paid $11 an hour. I still am for the job I'm doing right now, but I put in my 2 weeks because of a mixture of a lot of issues I've been having with management. Due to a short list, let's just throw it down, skipped over for a promotion that I was trained for. I was trained, promised the position, was not given it. Lots of really awful customers have been coming in and out, just doing some awful, abysmal shit. I had to do with a lot of shoplifting, a lot of people who've cursed me out, and a couple people who've called me some slurs.
I believe it. We ran into a lot of stuff at Best Buy as well. And what was really toxic is there was one guy, Travis, really nice guy. He had like the shaved head, but he had a huge beard that went down to like here. And he was part of AP, or asset protection. And he would stand at that like podium between the door that comes in the store and the door that goes out the store. And his whole job was to prevent theft. And so he was a wizard at it too. He like knew people's faces from when they came in 6 months before and swiped something, and he caught them on cameras. So he would track them all and all that. But I remember, because when I was there, at some point, Colorado like decided to do this new thing where they're like, we're not gonna enforce shoplifting laws, because people who are shoplifting are basically misunderstood, was kind of the attitude. And so you were just expected to film them stealing stuff, but you couldn't stop them. And at one point, I wasn't working this day, but there was something that happened where a guy came in and decided he was going to try to lug out one of the big like 65-inch TVs we had on the sales floor, because we had them like in the aisles and stuff. And this guy just like grabs it and starts like pulling it out the store just to take it out. And like the asset protection guys were like, we can't let this guy just do it, right? Like they're just going to ransack the whole store. Like there's no way. So he tried to stop him. And during this process, he touched the guy. He like stood in the doorway, like arms out, and like the guy bumped into him and he touched the shoplifter. I don't know if he shoved him. I don't know what it was, because I was not there. But my understanding, what I was told when I came into work like the day or two after, was that he touched the shoplifter, and because they made physical contact, Travis had to be fired. And it was at that point where I was like, okay, we're getting real stupid. I think we're getting real dumb. Yeah. In California, you can't, yeah, it's sub 1,000. I think it was like sub $750 or something like that, or 950, something like that. Yeah. In California, you can like shoplift up to close to $1,000, and they do not treat it as like, I think it's a misdemeanor is what they treat it as, 950. I saw a video of a store owner, a shop owner, and in California, he treats everything. He says, all my products prices are $1,000 for every item, even like a pack of gum. But if you're a paying customer, you get a discount down to the actual price. And because he had the official price at $1,000 for every item, if anybody shoplifted it, according to the laws, they could be arrested and charged with it. Which is pretty funny. It's like kind of brilliant, right? It's like, oh yeah, you just get the coupon to make the pack of gum actually like $1.50 instead of $1,000. I thought it was brilliant. But yeah, I can only imagine what it's like now, because it's gotten worse since I left retail, especially in like more let's say progressive states where enforcement of like shoplifting laws is not been a priority. Let's just say it's caused major issues where I live in like a pretty cushy area, a pretty expensive area, and even like the the like fancy schmancy boutique stores where it's some multimillionaire lady's passion project for her retirement is to run this little boutique shop. Even those things are getting overrun with shoplifters and stuff. It's a huge problem all over the place. But I can only imagine what it's like for this guy in a GameStop too.
Honestly, that's any retail position, but it's another reason that led me to putting in my 2 weeks. But the last straw, the thing that really cemented, hey, you should get out of here, is when I got to work yesterday, and after working multiple open to closes back to back, my boss told me that they were not satisfied with the amount of work that I had been doing. And because of that, I will no longer be allowed to use my phone anywhere on the floor, which I'm not sure if you know how big this store is. This is the floor. That's it. And then on top of that, no more sitting. We did have a chair that was due to a medical need from my boss. However, we were allowed to sit in it, and somehow it broke. I don't know how. I mean, I don't mean broke as in exploded. I mean, it's a little bent. But because of that, we're now no longer to sit on the job.
I had this same exact like thing happen at my Best Buy years ago too, where they were upset that we had little stools at the counters. So even if the store was empty and we were sitting at the counter in front of all the TVs and stuff, they were upset because they said it looked lazy. And so they took away the stools. We had to stand for our whole shift. And then they said no phones, which was insane because like we had to use our phones to scan tags. Because most of the like really nice TVs we were selling in Magnolia, we didn't stock. Like we didn't keep $20,000 TVs in the back. Like you had to order it. And we did that by having like an app on our phone, and then we would scan it, and then we would take that to the register and get the SKU and all of that. That's just how it worked. So they told us no phones on the floor anymore. You could tell that this was a policy put in place by an executive who had never worked in the store, who didn't know what it was like to actually do the job, because they're like, yeah, you can't use that anymore. I choke on my own throat. I imagine at a GameStop, you're also using your phone to be like, oh, let me see, you want this game? Let me check real quick if we have it. We could order it. This though is the one you want. This is the trailer for the game you want, when you're helping customers with the games they want. It's so stupid, but this happens all of the time in retail, where it's these like bigwig execs that have never worked on the floor. They probably have never been in a store. They're making broad sweeping changes like, we feel our productivity is low, so we're going to demand that you do this and this instead. And it's just so stupid. It's so stupid. And it's based on this premise that you can kind of treat employees like cattle. And I just don't think that's true. I'm a firm believer that happy work is better work. If you have happy employees, they will work much, much better, and they'll work for you, not just like to get the paycheck, but they will work to help the store. They'll go above and beyond because they're happy, because they want to see it succeed as well. When you treat employees like cattle, you shouldn't be surprised when they run from the farm when the door opens. Gate. Whatever. I'm not from a farm. I don't know how farm stuff works. That's insane. It says ex-CV runner. That's insane. I worked with someone who had a stool because they had a seizure, and the doctor said they couldn't stand for more than an hour at a time. And a regional manager came through and was like, nope, can't have that, even though HR and ethics already approved it. Yeah, dude, it's asinine. And since I worked at Best Buy, we had so many layers of like training and expertise. The people that worked there, our average tenure was like probably 2-3 years we had been on the job. And we really knew our stuff by the time we were promoted into like these higher level sales positions, whether it's VPL or Magnolia or whatever. So like you could come in and be like, what's the ohm level on that? What type of, how many tweeters does that speaker have? Whatever it is, I don't even know. Like, what's the wattage of that amp versus this amp? What's the impedance? Should I use this gauge of speaker wire or this gauge if I have these other cables in the same conduit? Like, we knew those answers because we had the experience for it. Nowadays, you walk in and you're dealing with a bunch of people who have no idea what they're talking about. And I'm sure there's some people who are very qualified, but most people at like my Best Buy locally where I used to work, they're just like, they have no idea what they're doing because they are just there to like move boxes and grab stuff for you. They don't know anything about the tech because Best Buy doesn't want to pay them to learn. Like they just want the cheapest labor to just move boxes from point A to point B based on the online sales, and that's it. And it's just sad because is ruining all of them. Like, yeah, short term they're getting maybe some better revenue, but long term I think it's just gonna destroy the value of the location.
And when you're working in open to close, that's kind of a lot to ask, and I think I'm over it. Yeah, that was the last straw. So to my boss, that is most definitely watching on me from that camera, I hate you, and you have been an awful, awful boss to work for. Through a mixture of things, I would say the worst of them being promising me the promotion and then saying, well, the store we're partnered with needs an assistant manager, but even though you're the only permanent employee, we will not be giving it to you. And honestly, that $3 or $4 raise might have been enough to keep me. I'm not going to lie. The boss in question, by the way, being my district manager. My actual manager tried really hard to keep this place going, but there's only so much one person can do. We got some other issues. We have a mouse issue. There's several mice in our drawers that keep ripping up paper and leaving shit pellets all over the place. That's another big reason I'm leaving. Lastly, this is our bathroom. I think this is a really good qualifier for why I'm leaving.
Yeah, it shows the care they have for their employees. You can see the mouse crap on the floor too. Jesus.
Right, so yesterday's video about how much I hate GameStop blew up a lot more than I think I was planning. So I'm going to make a part 2 to just kind of clear some stuff up. We'll do the important stuff first, and then we'll do some funny stuff at the end. The first thing that I got repeatedly is, why would you put in your 2 weeks? Truthfully, my actual manager, my direct manager in the store, tried really, really hard to keep this place going as well as it does. And she's also just as run down as I am. And I wanted to give her the respect of not adding more to her plate, even though I hate it. But, you know, also my dad's an immigrant, so I've kind of got that, no matter how bad your job is, give it the good, honorable send-off kind of thing.
I think that's just called being a decent person, too. I mean, I as much as some jobs deserve you to just walk out, to be clear, like some jobs, I think that's totally fair after how they treat you and everything. Like I've seen those posts of people like bosses saying, oh yeah, you had a family member die, but you didn't ask for this time off ahead of time, so you have to come into work still. Like those people, like, go screw yourself, dry up. Like I totally feel that, but I think it's respectable to put in 2 weeks, and because it's not about the district guys. You're not showing them respect by doing it. You're showing, you know, your direct superior who he said, you know, he's been rooting for. I think that is respectable. You know, I think that's impressive.
Another sentiment that I kept getting in the comments was stupid old Gen Z complaining about not getting on their phones and having to stand like we did back in 1972. Yeah, I mean, jobs used to be a lot harder in a lot of different ways. But also we do similar work for equivalently way less pay. And I think a lot of people don't understand that $11 an hour 50 years ago is not the same as $11 an hour now. Inflation and like forced rising in cost has like definitely absolutely obliterated the dollar, especially after the gold standard was lost in America's history. But also it's okay to like ask for respect, or more or less demand respect when things are due. The shirt that I had on yesterday and the hat that I had on here is for the Louisiana-based alternative and death metal band Brat. They're really, really good. I think they're awesome. Their lead singer specifically is really funny. Lastly, here, all the guys I was told I look like in the comments section, mainly Mexican OT and Meat Canyon. I'm noticing the overarching theme is like overweight and like curly mullet and like kind of bad facial hair. I get it. That makes sense. That's about accurate. I keep getting asked, is this like a wig or a perm? Do I do something weird to my hair? I'm just Moroccan, guys. That's what Arab people look like, and we have hair like this, so I don't do anything special to it. That is just what it looks like.
I'm just Moroccan, guys. I don't know what to tell you. Yeah, I mean, thinking of that, like, if he's making 11 right now, $11 an hour in 2024 has the same buying power. I want to see what it was like when I was working there. Okay, we'll say like 2018. So he's making the equivalent as if when I worked at like Best Buy, if he was making $9 an hour. And at the time I started at Best Buy. Actually, that was probably, I think that was when would I have started at Best Buy? Maybe it was back at 26. I think it was 27. I'm not sure. Either way, like when I was at Best Buy, they offered me like 1025 or 1050 or something. And that was considered like not great. Even then, like I know in some states it's different, but in Colorado, with cost of living here, even back then, that was like not great. So to see that in 2024, buying power wise, he's being paid the equivalent of that back when I was working at Best Buy there, it's crazy. That's kind of what it takes. Is it takes everybody quitting, and it takes everybody being like, no more of this, dude, for change to happen and for these companies to kind of be forced into paying more. And we'll see if they actually do that. He took my thing.